Hello, and thanks for joining us in the IELTS speaking section of our course. In this speaking section, we're going to cover first the basics, just a general overview of what's involved in the IELTS speaking test. Now, there are three parts. In task number one is basically an interview where you're going to be sitting face to face with the examiner and they're going to ask you some questions about yourself and ask your opinion on various different topics. Then you have the long turn or task number two. In this part, they're going to give you a topic card that has 3 or 4 prompts about a topic. Then you're going to be given 1 minute to take some notes and then 2 minutes to speak in an uninterrupted fashion. Then on task number 3, it's on the same topic as task number 2. And they're going to ask you some more complex questions or deeper questions on the topic from task number 2. Now, in terms of the basics, the test is only going to last about 12 to 14 minutes. That's it. No more than that. The examiner has a fixed amount of time to basically do your test. That's why sometimes they actually move on or move forward or interrupt you and say, hey, we're going to go to the next question. They want to really look at your speaking ability, and really what I really want you to focus on is how you say something. Not necessarily what you say, but how you say it. That's what's really, really important. They're grading you on your fluency, your grammar, your pronunciation, and your vocabulary. They are not looking at your ideas, right? They're not looking at your ideas. And sometimes students ask me, well, what about my ideas? What do you think about my ideas? It doesn't matter. As long as you're within the context of the question, then whatever your idea is, it's okay. There's nowhere on the rubric where they're grading your ideas. As I said, we have 3 sections: the interview, the uninterrupted speech, and then the follow-up questions on the same topic. So it's going to proceed through these 3 parts. You have to be ready because you're going to start, and before you know it, it's going to be finished. Now, I want to give you a little bit of information about the examiner. The examiners are former ESL teachers. They've received very specialized training for the IELTS exam. Also keep in mind, they're not your friend and they're not your enemy. They're there to do a job. They can be native or non-native speakers. Now, this is something I really want to highlight here. The examiner is going to decide your score. The examiner is going to decide your score. So they're going to, as soon as you finish, they're going to look at their notes that they took on you, and they're going to give you your score. The purpose of doing a recording is so that the IELTS, the people who, Cambridge, the British Council, so they have some recording of what you said in case there's any kind of dispute or if they want to evaluate the examiners. But that examiner is going to score you. And you know that there is a restricted time. So when the examiner has to make sure that they're able to move you from start to finish in 14 minutes. So, how can you really succeed in this part of our course? Number 1, take notes. Don't just sit there and listen to what we're saying. Actually take notes. When you take notes, you're going to remember things much, much better. I'm going to give you a lot of examples. And what I want you to do is really learn from a lot of the phrases and words that I use. You're going to, in this section of the course, you're going to get a lot of contextual vocabulary. I think that's going to be very, very helpful for you. Now, number 3, don't memorize any models that I give you in terms of the answers that you see. Don't memorize them. You're not going to be able to do that. Second to that, the examiners know when you're giving memorized information. Whenever I am listening to a student, I can always tell when they're giving me memorized information, and it drops the score. Finally, Practice, 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 practice. You have to actually practice. Some students say, well, I'm just going to read what other people say and then that's enough for me. You have to practice. Thank you very much for listening to this introduction. And next we're going to move on to just a few key points or some tips and advice that I want to give you in general. After that, we're going to move into the more detailed parts of the speaking section of our course. Thank you very much.